Alright, so in this episode we are in Pinotepa Nacional, Oaxaca. Pinotepa is a large town or small city about 4 hours north of Puerto Escondido. It's a run-of-the-mill Mexican town, which is to say that it's pretty cool. And it was actually my home for a few months as I was working on a project in the region a couple years ago. I returned this past December to catch up with old friends and to photograph a rodeo.
Muchas gracias.
So we're on the outskirts of town for this horse parade that sort of kicks off the weekend full of rodeo events.
Bueno, ¿cómo está? Gusto verte. ¿Otra prima?
Sí,
No me digas. Hola, soy Henry.
Hermana de Pedro y Carlos.
Pedro y Carlos.
So the parade starts and there's beautiful light, but I sort of struggle with people posing for photos, and I'm also scared about getting kicked by a horse. Since I'm really too scared to get into the action, I start looking for good light and an interesting background to profile the riders against.
Bueno, sí. No. ¿De dónde son?
De aquí el Carrizo. Manda a Dayana, güey. Dile que se la mande a Donis.
So we get to the event center, the sun is already set, and I'm just finishing off my roll of Fuji Color 200. So I decided to pop in a roll of Kentmere Pan 400, which a lot of people accuse of being overly washed out, but in lighting conditions like these, there's so much contrast, it really doesn't matter.
Gracias. ¿Qué tomas ahí? ¿Café?
Es whisky. Neta, huele y prueba. Llame a mi amigo.
¿Por qué?
Dice que hablo como chilanga. Ya te perdoné, güey.
Ay, gracias, amiga.
This photo coming up is probably one of my best from the weekend. It's definitely the most complex. Notice the fan, Diana's little cousin, nice background.
Para que nos tomen una foto mañana.
Mañana me voy con el chivo.
Subscribe to see what happens in the goat.
La página de espérate, lejos, güey.
Suelo, 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 suelo. Ey, hermano.
¿Sí se baila el Pinotepa?
So I head down to the bull riding ring, and my initial thought was to get some cool photos of the action. I'd done just that a couple years before on a digital camera, but this time around it just didn't work. Fortunately, the behind the scenes stuff ended up being just, if not more, interesting. The box is essentially a super dynamic jungle gym, albeit a very high stakes one.
Right.
It's easy enough to film, but much harder to translate into a still image. So the last event of the weekend are the horse races. These races always generate a lot of excitement, possibly because they lend themselves to gambling.
How much do you lose?
I lost like 400.
It's basically a drag race. 2 horses and their jockeys face off in a straight line. Alright, this is definitely one of the most challenging events of the weekend, and it's also the one that I'm most interested in. I'd taken a couple cool photos here before, but on a digital camera. This time around, I think I've got like 6 shots left. And now like 3 or 4.
Ay, mi Dios, en qué confía en su mujer en la calle, sabiendo que es alcancía y todos le cargan llave. Yo también traigo la mía y a cualquier chapa le cabe. Yo vi que peleara un oso con una garza morena. No hay bocado más sabroso que de la mujer ajena. El hombre, como es goloso, aunque la suya sea buena.